He gave his brother everything, but when he lost everything, his brother turned his back on him. Once upon a time, there were two brothers named Kelvin and Chris. Kelvin was the elder brother, and their father passed away. Kelvin became more than just a brother to Chris. He became his protector, his provider, and his biggest support. Kelvin worked from morning until night doing different jobs just to make sure Chris stayed in school. Whenever Chris needed school fees, Kelvin found a way to pay. Whenever there was only enough food for one person, Kelvin would give it to Chris and pretend he wasn't hungry. One day, Chris looked at him and asked, "Brother Kelvin, when will you ever think about yourself?" Kelvin smiled and replied, "Your success is my happiness." After Chris finished school, he dreamed of becoming a successful businessman. But there was one problem. He had no money. One evening, Chris told Kelvin about his business idea. "Brother, I know this business can change my life, but I don't have enough money to start." Kelvin looked at the little money he had saved over the years. That money was supposed to help him start his own small business. He knew that if he gave it to Chris, he might have to start all over again. But Kelvin loved his brother, so he handed him everything. Chris stared at the money in disbelief. "Brother, this is all your savings. What will you do?" Kelvin smiled. "I will find another way." Chris hugged him tightly. Then he said, "I promise you, Kelvin, when I become successful, you will never struggle again." Kelvin smiled. "I believe you." Chris started his business. At first, things were difficult, but slowly customers began coming. His small shop grew. One shop became two. Two became five. And before long, Chris became a wealthy businessman. He bought expensive cars. He moved into a beautiful house. People began calling him successful. Whenever anyone asked how he started his business, Chris would proudly talk about his hard work. But he rarely mentioned the brother who had given him everything to get started. Kelvin was still struggling. He lived simply and continued working hard, but he was proud of Chris. He never asked him of anything. As Chris became richer, he became busier. Kelvin noticed that his brother no longer called him like before. One day, Kelvin decided to visit him. "Chris, I want to start a small business. I just need a little help." Chris sighed. "Kelvin, I'm dealing with many things right now." Kelvin nodded. "I understand." He walked away without complaining. He didn't remind Chris of the school fees. He didn't remind him of the food he had sacrificed. He didn't remind him of the money he had given him. He simply told himself, maybe he's really busy. After saving little by little, Kelvin eventually started his own business. For the first time, things began going well. He was happy. He finally felt like he was building something for himself. But then, one night, disaster struck. A fire broke out and destroyed his entire shop. Everything Kelvin has worked for was gone. He stood outside the pawn shop, staring at the ashes. His dream had disappeared overnight. Kelvin didn't know what to do. Then he remembered his brother. He called Chris. Chris, I need your help. Chris answered impatiently. What happened? Kelvin explained everything. My shop burned down. I don't need much. I just need enough to start again. There was silence. Then Chris said, Kelvin, I can't keep solving your problems. Kelvin's heart sank. I am not asking you to solve my life, Chris. I am only asking for help this one time. But Chris replied, you need to learn how to stand on your own. Kelvin became silent. Then he asked, Chris, do you remember when you had nothing? Chris sighed. That was a long time ago. Kelvin quietly replied, yes, it was. The call ended. Kelvin sat alone that night. He remembered everything. The night he walked while Chris studied, the meal he skipped, the money he saved, the dream he put aside, the day he gave Chris every penny he had. And most importantly, he remembered the promise Chris had made. When I become successful, you will never struggle again. Tears rolled down Kelvin's face. He whispered, I never asked you to repay me. I only wanted you to remember when I needed you. But Kelvin didn't give up. He continued working. Years passed. Then something unexpected happened. Chris' business began to collapse. A major investment failed. His business partner abandoned him. His debt became overwhelming. The expensive cars were sold. His beautiful house was taken. The people who once surrounded him suddenly disappeared. The same people who used to call him boss no longer answer his calls. Chris went from having everything to having almost nothing. One rainy evening, Chris sat outside his old office. He looked at the empty building and wondered how his life had changed so quickly. Tears mixed with the rain on his face. He whispered, God, why did I forget the only person who was always there for me? Just then, he heard a familiar voice. Chris. Chris looked up. Standing in front of him was Kelvin, his older brother, the brother he had abandoned. Chris couldn't believe his eyes. Kelvin looked at him and said, I heard you were struggling. Chris lowered his head. I have nothing left. Kelvin sat beside him. Then he said, come home. Chris looked at him in disbelief. After everything I do to you? Kelvin nodded. You are still my brother. Chris' eyes filled with tears. Kelvin, I don't deserve you. Kelvin looked at him and replied, I didn't help you because you deserve it. I helped you because I loved you. Chris broke down. Tears. He held Kelvin's hands and cried. I was blind. I was proud. I was ungrateful. Please forgive me. Kelvin pulled his brother into a hug. I forgive you a long time ago. The two brothers cried together, not because their lives were perfect, but because after everything they had been through, their love was still there. Kelvin helped Chris get back on his feet, and this time, Chris was different. He never forgot his brother again. Eventually, the two brothers started a new business together. But their greatest achievement wasn't the business. It was rebuilding their relationship. Whenever people praised Chris for his success, he would point to Kelvin and say, "Don't place me alone." Then he would say, "This man believed in me when nobody else did. I became successful because of my brother. Sacrificed his own dream for mine." And whenever Chris remembered how he had treated Kelvin, he would say, "Never forget the people who stood beside you when you had nothing." Sometimes, success makes people forget the hands that lifted them, but life can change in a single moment. The person you ignore today may be the person you need tomorrow. So never be ashamed of the people who helped you when you had nothing. Never forget the person who stood beside you when everyone else walked away. And if you are the one who has been forgotten after making sacrifice for someone you love, don't allow their ingratitude to destroy your heart. Keep your dignity, keep your faith, and keep moving forward, because people may forget your sacrifice, but God never forgets the heart behind it. And remember, money can disappear, businesses can fail, success can come and go, but the love and sacrifice of the people who stood by you when you had nothing should never be forgotten. Never let success make you forget where you came from or who helped you get there, because one day, the person you ignore may be the very person you need. And when that day comes, may you have the humility to remember the hand that lifted you. For more emotional stories, please like, comment, follow, share, and subscribe. Bye-bye.